that the biggest question that people want to ask you is probably the difference between the water-based, water-extracted CBD and the, normal CBD, let's say this way. Because actually, I'm also the scientist, and based on my knowledge, I don't really see so much of the pharmacological difference or the physiological difference between the organic or the normal one, for example. And also for the water stuff, I honestly, I didn't really test it for your water extracted CBD yet, but I am not really sure that if there's any more difference rather than, what is the difference actually? What can be the difference for the molecule base?
From your perspective, pharmacologically, I would probably go so far as to say there isn't a difference.
Like I do agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not gonna blow smoke by any means. No, I don't think pharmacologically there is a difference. I think when you think about USDA certification and why it's interesting that we do it from water, it's more of a supply chain comfort thing. Like, you know that you're buying a product that's been treating the world the correct way.
Right.
And then we have other advantages that we're proud of, and we'll probably try to certify in some way that people, can look at it and say it's more environmentally friendly or more sustainable as a production method. So it's more about that stuff,
right,
than it is if I take a gram of this versus the gram of that.
Right.
It's awfully similar. But we had a comparison recently. We use like 80% of power consumption of normal processing methods. So it's more on that side of things.
Right.
For you, if you put them both into a rat model, it's the same.
And your safety as well, right? You don't have to worry about explosion or anything. You don't need any, you don't use anything, dangerous.
Yeah, me and my employees are obviously safer. I think, there is a consumer safety aspect in the sense that, like, it hasn't touched anything that's going to be bad for you, but normal processors can get the pentane or whatever it is that they use. They can get it out, but with our process, it's never touched that.
Right. So actually I've seen for your processes, I didn't really see so much about your processes, but because it's patent, right? It's still under the submission to patent, so I couldn't really see so much of the really detailed how to do it yet. But I just thought, like, if that is as because of the CBD is it's hydrophobic, right? It's super duper hydrophobic. So I just thought, like, the water extraction means like it's like a picking up of not the water soluble content, but rather like taking not the residue, but I don't want to say it's a residue, but picking up of the hydrophobic residues out from those extracts. Is it yes or not?
I have to tiptoe around that a little bit, because if you've had any organic chemistry in your background, which I assume you have, it's actually I'm very proud of it. It's clever, but it's a pretty simple trick. But yeah, like, you're right. It is very hydrophobic. And so for me, in my process, it takes me 500 gallons of water to do what someone could do in a 10-gallon reactor with methane. So
got it. So like pulling out those hydroxyl, just like pulling those two pieces of the hydroxyl bonds on the CBD using tons or even more of the waters, just like that. Kind of.
To a good enough approximation that we haven't given anything away. Yeah, exactly. It's
to let them.
You have to overpower it with tons of water.
Tell us about the crystallization process. Whatever you can tell us without it, putting you at risk.
Yeah, I mean, Chiro asked me a little bit about it earlier. It's different from what other people are doing in the non-organic space, in that it's super dilute. I have to use so much more liquid than they do, but I also don't really care because it's water. It's, you know, there's not a safety issue associated with it.
I just had popped up one question popped up right now, that if those waters are reusable or not.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. I've proved it out. I had to rent a system to do it, so I don't do it now with every run, but that's the very next piece of equipment I'm purchasing.
Yeah, of course. I think so.
I can definitely recycle it.
Yeah.
I don't know about the monetary value, but there's interesting stuff in the concentrate of what can't be recycled. Locally, actually near our facility, is a big straw pulping plant. They make pulp from straw waste, and they concentrate a solution of those big biopolymers too. And you can use it for dust suppression on roads. Like there's a lot of interesting ways you can use the byproducts of my process. But when you have a straw pulping plant that's on the scale they're on, there's not a lot of reason for using my hemp ones. But yeah, I can recycle for sure.
How much is the water bill right now? I mean, you don't have to answer it. The water bill.
Oh, it's not bad at all.
It's not bad. Okay.
Oregon or Washington, it's cheap.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you think about it, like 1,000 gallons a week is a blip on the radar relative to the wineries and stuff around me.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that the CBD market demands me to even have a big water bill.
It's a big deal.
I don't know. Crystallization is something of sufficient purity. It'll self-organize into an organized structure where the CBD molecules like stack on each other. So how is that beneficial? I happen to get in this water situation. I get that to happen, and it's selective. So any other minor cannabinoids go out with the water, which is definitely another place I want to expand my research. Is how do I get those guys? But you know, I got a lot of plans, so to speak. Trying to decide which is most important.
That sounds interesting.
You're losing the minor cannabinoids with the water, but the THC also goes out with the water, right? That's how you make sure there's no THC.
In this context, I'm talking about THC as a minor cannabinoid because it's in the hemp extract. It is a minor cannabinoid. Yeah. I just meant it in that context. So yeah, it's also the extraction itself is a little bit selective. So I leave behind a higher percentage of THC in the plant material than CBD. It's not completely selective, but it makes the crystallization job easier.
Right. And then, can you explain how the crystallization process basically ensures there's no THC, just by the nature of it being crystallization?
Yeah. I mean, even with hydrocarbon crystallization, the crystals themselves that's a selective process. CBD molecules only stack with CBD molecules. So in any of these cases, if you end up with THC left in your product, it's actually more of the mother liquor getting trapped in the crystals, or you did a poor job washing. And in my case, there's so little THC in that 500 gallons that there's just not a meaningful amount that can get trapped in my product. So that's the benefit of dilute crystallizations, is that the concentration of contaminants in the liquid you do trap, it's really low. So if someone wanted to use 500 gallons of pentane to do their crystallizations, they would probably burn their building down. But if they didn't, they would probably see that they also didn't have much THC left in their product.
Yeah, because he's using so much water to crystallize in, that volume of water dilutes the residual unwanted cannabinoids, and so when that water gets trapped in the crystal, there's way less of those non-target cannabinoids than what there would be in a pentane wash, because there's only 1/50th the amount of dilution going on.
On top of that, my extraction's a little bit selective too, so yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, it's even better.
Right. Okay.
Oh, what's the difference in processing CBD and CBG? Is there any difference in that process?
Not from my process perspective. They have quite different physical properties, I guess is the word. Like CBG is, as a solid, quite a bit less dense, and the crystals that do form are fluffier, I guess I would say. Like they, it looks more like cotton candy almost. It causes its own little issues in terms of it. When collecting product, it takes up more volume, so my collection filter will fill a lot faster and have to be emptied multiple times, whereas with CBD, that's a more compact solid, and I don't have to empty it. And then it also just clogs things easier, I guess. It's more difficult of a product to handle, but from the actual underlying chemistry standpoint, I don't do anything different. The CBG also crystallizes faster, which is the same for non-organic CBG. It's just a more crystalline compound. So I haven't really optimized like, oh, maybe I can do this for 12 less hours on CBG. I haven't really put any time into that, but it does look that way, that my process could be half a day shorter on CBG if I cared enough to do that.